day that millions of Canadians have been hoping for 2, maybe even 3 years. Today is the day when Canada decides, and in just a few short hours, we will know who is going to be the prime minister for maybe 4 years, maybe a lot less. A lot of the polls are pointing towards a minority government. I'm going to talk about that in this episode of Scott Fox After 9, but I'm going to do a couple other things today, too, because it's election day. And I feel like you've got a lot of stuff going on. If you've already voted, no doubt you're waiting for the results to come in tonight. If you haven't voted, you got to get to a polling station and get that vote in. Everybody needs to vote. I really want to see voter turnout near 80% in this election, and I think it's possible. I'm going to predict about 73% voter turnout. That's my prediction. I'm also going to give you a prediction for who wins and how in this episode of the pod. But I'm also going to do a few other things. This is a chill one. I got to get ready to pivot on this podcast because so far it's been mainly political and not by design. When I lost my job in radio and set out to do this podcasting thing, I thought, well, I'm going to do a radio show in podcast form that's available on demand. And then we had the Liberal leadership race right away. Then we had the provincial election right after that. Now we've got the federal election right after that. I haven't really had a chance to do the pod that I set out to do, but I'm telling you, it is going to be a little bit different after this election. Today, the pre-election special. That's what they would call it if I was on like network television or something. In reality, it's a lot less glamorous than that. Tomorrow, in-depth results here on the podcast. I'm going to be talking about different ridings. I'm going to talk about the overall vote, and I'm going to talk about the challenges tomorrow that the new government is going to face. If it's a Liberal government, they've got a very angry electorate. About half the country doesn't just hate them, they really hate them. So they're going to have some challenges. They're going to want to do some things that half the country does not want done. They're going to have to work with people who have endorsed the Conservatives. It's not going to be an easy path for Mark Carney to get legislation passed if he wins today. Same thing with the Conservatives. They've got an entirely Liberal Senate. Anything they want to do needs to be ratified by the Senate, who was almost exclusively appointed by Justin Trudeau. And if it doesn't get passed in the Senate, it's not a law. But Canadians want these things if they elect a Conservative government. That's what a mandate is. So tomorrow, we're going to sift through all the possibilities. I hope you can check out that episode. And thank you for diving into this one. Before I get into something a little bit different, something I set out to do initially on this pod, but it got derailed because of politics, I'm going to do a little What is Scott Smoking? And I'm going to bring in the great Anna Almeida once again to talk about cannabis. Before that, what you need to know. Gas prices went up a cent over the weekend. The average today is $1.36.9. Our dollar barely hanging in around 72 cents US. It's at 72.02 cents as of this morning. What are we celebrating? It is National Superhero Day. By the way, this is weird. 1 in 3 men, not boys, men, 1 in 3 has superhero underwear as an adult. Anna, I'm going to bring you just a little bit early. I know you're contractually obligated to only do so much, but I want to ask you, if you're with a guy and the date's going great, you want to go back to his place or he comes to your place and the pants come down and you see Spider-Man underwear, is that the end of it? Or is this still something that could happen?
Oh, no, we could still proceed. It's more so if I look up and I see Spider-Man figurines staring back at me is where I'd have the issue. But the panties, we're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Lotto Max tomorrow night is going to be a great one. 65 million plus 8 more draws for $1 million a piece. The Gold Ball on Wednesday is going to be for 56 million. So that's pretty good too. I want to point out this is Smile Cookie Week at Tim Hortons. I know not everybody's a cookie person. I'm a real hardcore cookie guy. So if you are one of those kind people who wants to stop in and support a great cause, pick up a box of Smile cookies for work. You're doing great work, and I'm always going to have one. I'm one of those people who feels we should normalize icing on cookies a lot more than we do it. Could you get behind that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
icing
already
is
picturing
great.
it right now in my mind.
The Leafs lost on Saturday. I'm sure you probably know that, everybody. That sets up Game 5 tomorrow night in Toronto. Think about this for a second, Anna. Let's say, hypothetically, the Leafs win it tomorrow night.
Okay, I like this.
And let's say the Liberals win tonight.
Okay, yeah.
It could be chaos on the streets of Toronto tomorrow. I think every police force in a major city in Canada should have a contingency plan in place. And I'm not saying anything's going to go wrong, but there's high potential for civil unrest, I think, if the Conservatives win. If the Conservatives win tonight, there's about half the country, the intolerant left, that I'm a little afraid of what they're going to do. The same people that are marching through the streets and stopping traffic so they can wave terrorist flags and things like that. When you think about all the different groups there are in Canada, if the Liberals don't win tonight, I think it could be an ugly couple of days in Canada. And I just hope that the police are ready for it and that there is a contingency plan. Hopefully we don't need it, but I think it's better to be prepared. And I don't think I'm telling the decision makers at the police forces anything they don't already know. I'd be willing to bet that cities like Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, maybe Vancouver have all got extra staff ready to go over the next few nights if things get ugly. Again, I hope it doesn't get to that, but it could. All right, that's what you need to know. I'm going to get to the closing argument from Pierre Poilievre, Mark Carney, and Jagmeet Singh after we get through a couple other things. Anna, you're a cannabis user?
Yes.
Good.
Oh, yes. Yes, I am.
Very emphatic. One of the things that I set out to do on this pod was I am frustrated by the cannabis rules in Ontario. And as a mainstream media broadcaster, can't really talk about cannabis on the radio. Or can we? Because it's never really been clarified. And I don't think that that's right. I mean, there's an entire profession dedicated to alcohol, several of them, from brewmaster to vintner to sommelier. There's all kinds of it. There's an industry around alcohol. And I don't understand why we can't have the same thing with cannabis. If I try a strain of cannabis that I really like, I should be allowed to mention that. And it's fine if I try some wine that I like. Nobody cares if I go on and say, I tried this, I don't know, 9 Thieves, whatever wine, and it was good. Go ahead and try it at the LCBO. No one would have an issue with that. But I feel like it's still taboo if we talk about cannabis. So, Anna, what I started out doing on the pod, and I ran out of time because of politics, was What is Scott Smoking? Where I give you some unbiased reviews on weed.
Nice. That's important, actually.
First off, are you a regular user?
On occasion. I was, in the past, I had been more regularly, and it would help with my anxiety, but I feel like I'm doing okay right now. But I would like to find something to help me sleep at night. That's my challenge.
Okay. Do you like a stronger? Do you like a sativa or an indica? Do you know what you like?
I would probably do like a sativa. Something more mild, you know? Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to go for a few here. And this is what I love to do. Sometimes I don't like to make the choice because I like what I like. And if I only like what I like, then I never try anything new. There's a real great store. If you're listening near Kitchener, in the Sunrise Center, Spirit Leaf, great staff there. Amir and his team are awesome. So I gave Amir a job. I said, put together a little box for me of different weed. Give me some indica, give me some sativa, give me some flowers, some pre-rolls. Just surprise me, even throw in some edibles. Ooh. And so I gave him a budget and I said, come up with a good little box for me. Anna, that was about a week and a half ago. And I have now tried everything that he gave me. So I'm going to try and do some unbiased reviews here.
Okay.
First off, great packaging on this one.
I was just going to say it's eye-catching. It's pink and very, I don't want to say girly, but it's one of those things I would definitely reach for it.
Okay, this is called Ghost Drops.
Oh.
They call it the triple threat. And there are 3 half-gram pre-rolls in this one. You get a Pave Street, a Headhunter, and a Singapore Sling. Blue, green, and red, and they're different intensity. So the blue, you get about 21 milligrams of THC, 21%. Then you get the green, 24.5%.
All right.
Then you get the red, where we're up into 26%. Good.
Feeling it.
I tried all 3. This is probably my new favorite thing. Ghost Drops.
Wow.
Anna, I love it. You only get 3, and it's not cheap either. But
it works.
If you see the pink tube called Ghost Drops, look for the triple threat pack. This one, highly recommended. The light one, the Pave Street, the blue, real nice and mild. That's one of those ones, Anna, that I think you could take and help you fall asleep.
Okay, that would be my go-to.
Now, if you want to get to a state where you're not even sure where you are or what your name is, that's when you go to the Singapore Sling, the red one in here.
That's vacation, Anna.
That's vacation, Anna.
Yeah,
yes.
I love it.
Now, this one over here is Simply Bare Organic.
Oh, organic.
This isn't, I know, you see organic and you think, well, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. It's the Fruit Loops one that I tried. You get 5.3 gram pre-rolls.
Okay.
It's really harsh as a pre-roll. If you grind it up and do it in a bong or something, it's probably great. But if you're going to smoke it as a pre-roll, you better have some tea and honey on standby because this one's going to burn going down.
I don't like that then.
The high was just sort of average. I think I felt a little more creative after I tried it, but it was not my favorite.
Was that art that I saw on the wall? Was that you, creative?
That drawing that I did,
Beautiful.
Yes, it was great. Now I'm going to check out the Baby Teeter Infused. This is it's a small tube, like a screw-off tube. You get 5 half-gram pre-rolls in this one, and it comes in around 38%.
Whoa.
That's a lot. It's because it's infused. The infused ones are always more powerful than the regular ones. If you really want to have yourself a good time, and you're feeling fun and festive and light and loose, try the Baby Teeter Infused. You get a couple different flavors, and it's powerful. Anna, you don't want to take this one if you have plans for the rest of the day. You're not driving anywhere after you take this one. But it was delicious. Ooh, is there one still in there? No, it's empty. Okay.
I was like, wait, is there? Oh, my gosh.
No. How great would that be, eh? Well, let's go get high and wait for the results to come in.
Oh, my gosh. Well, that's a way to spend election night.
I know a lot of people are going to be doing that. Other one I want to mention. This one it's in a black tube. It's MTL Cannabis. MTL. I assume that's Montreal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's called Sage and Sour. Ooh. This one's about a 27.6%. Sage and Sour. You get 3 half-gram pre-rolls in this bad boy.
Wow.
Take this, go to bed, don't make plans for the rest of the week.
Oh.
This one...
I thought for the night, for the week. Okay.
MTL Cannabis. Actually, you know what? It's not that bad. Sage and Sour. This one hit me hard. When I tried this one, it's only a 27, and that's like on the lighter side of what I enjoy. But if you try this one out, you're going to feel really creative. You're going to get really hungry. You're going to laugh a lot, but it's going to mess you up.
Okay, I love that. That's the ones I have the most fun. I love to laugh, and sometimes the world is so heavy, so it's nice to get that break and then eat a lot.
I also tried a Broken Coast. It's called Saturna. This one is real light. It's only about 20%.
Okay.
Broken Coast Cannabis Saturna pre-roll. Just a small little guy. This one will hit the spot too. This one was good because I was at an event and I was feeling a little anxious. Mm-hmm. A little puff of this, and it doesn't mess you up. You can still do whatever it was you were doing and function perfectly well. But it takes the edge off. Broken Coast Saturna.
I'm so happy you said that because I think people have this, false narrative that you take a puff and then you're just completely high, where that's not the case.
No.
You know what I mean? It really does help take the edge off, and especially for someone like myself and you who have anxiety, that really helps a lot. You're able to function and not have that, that heightened state of like, oh my gosh, do I need to get out of here? So kudos.
I'm a daily user, but I need like 3 different things from my weed. So number one, sometimes I want one that'll just put me to sleep and just chill. Those ones, I know what I like there, something a little more mild. I also like the mild ones because you can do your job and no one can really tell that you're high, but it does take the edge off. What I used to take a vodka shot for, or a quick vodka soda, now I just take a couple puffs of that and the sky's the limit. I'll go into any event you want.
But isn't that so funny, the taboo portion to that? It's so true. Like, to me, if you're like, oh, I just took a shot, people laugh, ha ha ha, and now it's like, oh, I just took a puff, they're like, oh, whoa, okay.
Uh-oh, you're a drug addict.
Do you have a problem? And it's like, no, but Joe Blow over there does, maybe you should go look at his glass, smell his breath. Like, give me a break, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm passionate about it. But also, I couldn't talk about it on TV when that was my former career. It was like, oh, you can't talk about smoking weed. And I was like, okay.
Isn't that weird, though?
It's so weird to me.
This is legal. There are businesses centered around this. It's a massive industry in Canada. We're apparently supposed to trust that it's okay and it's well monitored. That being the case, why is it still so taboo to talk about weed or to indicate that you might have had a puff?
Yeah, I'm no drug addict. I'm not an addict of any sort. You know what I mean? And to each their own. Like, you have your own reasons for reaching for a certain thing, your own vice. But at the end of the day, we're not promoting it like, oh, go do this. We're telling you what works for us. Hey, and that's what it is.
Everybody just wants to get by. And some people have harder jobs than others. Some people are dealing more with others.
Exactly.
And if a little puff of that takes the edge off, the same way maybe 2 or 3 beers used to.
Yes.
I don't know why it would be taboo. Like, nobody looks at me when I go to a function and I've got a vodka soda in my hand.
That's the thing. That's what drives me bonkers. Can I say shit on here? That's what drives me like crazy. That's that kind of shit. I said it. I'm going for it. I have a potty mouth. But it's just, the judgment is it's too far-fetched. It's 2025. We need to let that go. Stop judging and just ask them, hey, why does that work for you? And they'll have an explanation.
I was over at my friend Mark's house on Saturday night. And it's tough, Anna, when you're trying to get your friends together. Because, especially when they're all adults.
Yeah.
They've got families, kids, different things at different times. It's really hard to pick out a weekend that works for everybody.
Yep.
So what my friends and I do is we plan these things months in advance. So we had a pre-arranged dinner party on Saturday night at his place up in Aurora. And I thought, Leafs are playing on Saturday. I don't really want to go out. I'd really rather stay home and watch this in the basement. But we'd already arranged it. So I said, okay, you know what? We're going to your place. We're going to have dinner and we're going to watch the game. What can I bring? That's the standard question when you're going somewhere. What can I bring?
It's such a nice thing to offer the person who's hosting you. What can I do to make your night easier?
They said, you know what? Bring some wine. Bring some rosé and some Pinot Grigio.
Okay.
Well, I don't drink rosé and I don't drink Pinot Grigio. I'm a red wine kind of guy. But I thought, all right, fine, I'll bring it. At the end of the night, I noticed nobody drank the rosé or the Pinot Grigio. Now, you've speculated that I am cheap because I actually considered taking it back with me.
Hey, I was just like, well, is it the right thing to do? It's not that you're cheap, but cheap. Let's go with cheap. Let's say you're cheap and you want to take it back. But life's expensive, and if no one's drinking it, then you should have the right to take what you brought with you back. Right?
So the Mark's house that I was at is the same Mark that did the podcast special with me about 6 weeks ago where we talked about dating.
I loved him.
That guy has been on over 100 online dates and he has figured out the science of it. Anna, there's so much more. I might even have to bring Mark back in to do a pod because there's so much more that we didn't even cover in that episode.
I would love to hear what else he has to say. I took into consideration because I quickly went on an app, quickly got off the app, but he had all these ways to get around it to get the best bang for your buck if you're looking for somebody. So I was like, okay, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Well, he definitely heard you talk about him, and I told him too. Anna, as a single woman, found that information invaluable. So we talked. We're going to get him back on the pod at some point soon. And the other thing he's going to talk about too is credit cards.
Ooh.
He's got a thing with credit cards, and he was explaining it to me on Saturday.
Okay.
Anna, I'm going to get him back in on the pod. I might even get him in studio, and he can share what he has learned through a lifetime of accumulating points right here on After 9.
Well, and I'll ask him to bring that rosé that you brought.
Oh,
that didn't get open, so we'll use it then.
Something for you to drink. That's great. All right, I know you've got things to do. It's Election Day, and you're taking your parents to vote. That's great.
Yeah, and happy Super Bowl to you, because this is your big day, and I'm really excited.
The amount of people that mentioned, oh, Scott, Anna had a great idea. You should live stream the results tonight.
Isn't that genius? I know if you're listening, you would totally tune in to see Scott's reaction in real time.
I can't. There's just too much going on. And I did promise a couple of candidates I would tweak up their speeches for them tonight if they want. So I'm on standby. Wow. And I'm not going to do it tonight. But I promise you, when there's an election coming up that I'm not as into, this one I think is an important one. Oh. In fact, I think this is probably the most consequential election in our history.
I have to agree with you. This is big time.
I'm going to be focused on that. I can't live stream and worry about the tech side of it. But if it's maybe a U.S. election or something like that, I'll bring people into my war room one of these days and show you guys what I'm doing and how frantic it is with all the different computers and monitors and things like that. So thank you for putting that idea out there. I've spent all weekend deflecting.
What are friends for?
One more thing before you go, though. We decided to do on the radio today because the polls don't open till 9:30. That's complete BS. You know how many people could have voted and checked it off their list on their way to work? Mm-hmm. And the polls don't even open till 9:30. Missed opportunity here for Elections Canada. I think they got to fix that. Make it as easy as possible to vote. And if we have to do more than 12 hours of voting, do more than 12 hours of voting. But I digress. We decided on the radio station that we're on, Light 92, we would do a listener poll. And the polls are something that gets talked about a lot in this election because a lot of people don't believe them. They look at the polls that say the Liberals are going to win and it's going to be a Liberal minority or majority. It just depends on how the results go. But either way, Carney's going to be prime minister after today. And he may very well be. But that doesn't line up with what's happening on the ground. 10-1 signs in neighborhoods, 10-1 conservative to Liberal. And then you see the rallies. And when Pierre Poilievre is pulling 5,000 people to Oakville on a Sunday morning, that tells me there is momentum. An example I can give you is during the last federal election, we had Justin Trudeau running against Aaron O'Toole. He was the leader of the Conservatives. Mm-hmm. Aaron O'Toole got more votes than Justin Trudeau. He won the popular vote. It didn't translate into enough seats to form government, but O'Toole won the vote with a fraction of the enthusiasm that Pierre Poilievre has. That's part of the reason that people can't reconcile the polls with what they're seeing on the ground. There's just too many discrepancies, and I think even pollsters are not 1,000% confident in what they've put out there.
Yeah, I'm confident in our poll that we did on our show because I calculated every single number by hand and did my own calculations before I knew you could do it on the computer.
I forgot to tell you it'll do that for you. That's my fault. That's my bad. I created a whole morning of work for Anna today. But if you think of it, we cover an area from, say, the west end of Toronto right out to London. It's an 80,000 watt radio station. We go from Fort Erie up to halfway to Lake Huron. Major chunk of population, potentially millions of people listening. Now, we ask them, don't tell us your name. Don't tell us anything other than your vote. Mm-hmm. Conservative, Liberal, New Democrat, Green. And there was no block votes because, well, they don't run candidates in Ontario. We got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of votes that were texted in today. It's not scientific. It was voluntary. You didn't have to tell us anything. But for the people who did text in, I thought the results were very interesting.
Well, it was 1% NDP. So, shout out.
And by the way, it was 1% rounded up. They only got two votes.
Legitimately, only two came through out of those hundreds. And I'm telling you, there was a lot of people. People were passionate. At first, when we started it, the Liberals and the Conservatives were neck and neck. And then as the time started to tick on, then you could see that there was a clear winner and the division was obvious. And it went to the Conservatives. They had over 60% of the votes that we had when we asked you to, let us know who you were going for today. And then, 30 for Liberal.
60-34.
Yeah. Neck and neck, then not.
Yeah, the Conservatives pulled out at the end. A lot of people were voting there. Now, where I think that's interesting is when I look at some of the online polls, and again, they're not scientific. If Yahoo does a poll online of just anybody can participate, they say it's not scientific because there are different elements that can't be controlled in that sample size. There's also maybe the possibility that people would vote more than once, although I don't know who's got the time to try and influence a Yahoo poll to sit and vote all day.
Oh my gosh, no way. Yeah, no, people don't. People are busy. They have busy lives, so.
The Yahoo poll was exactly what we got. 60% conservative, about 34 to 37% liberal. And everything I'm seeing online says about 60% conservative. However, that's about 18 points higher than what the pollsters have them at. And what I'm trying to figure out is, are there a lot of people that just didn't participate in the poll that intend to go out? Are the pollsters intentionally misleading people? Are they intentionally calling areas where they know they're going to get a Liberal response? I mean, if the Liberals are only ahead by 3 points, and that's in surveys of Liberal ridings, I got to think Mark Carney is crapping his pants at this point.
Oh my gosh. Right now, it's very much unknown. Polls or no polls, it's going to be a game time decision when the numbers come in and we see what riding's going to take what and who's going to take that final seat. I'm interested. Again, I'm not really into politics, but I know that this election matters more than any other election we've come to be a part of, and I'm very interested. As much as I say it's your Super Bowl, it's all of Canada's.
All of Canada's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to the closing arguments here from Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh, and Mark Carney. Then I'm going to give you my final predictions for tonight. I have 5 quick listener DMs that have to do with the election, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. Now, let's get to Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. He did 4 rallies yesterday. Well over 10,000 people came out yesterday on a Sunday to support the leader of the Conservative Party. the final rally in Ottawa. He got into the back of a pickup truck with a microphone and spoke to, it's got to be hundreds, maybe even thousands of people at this rally. Listen to the closing argument from Pierre Poilievre.
There is so much at stake in this election, my friends. This is the future of our country we're voting on. There are so many people across the country that have vested their hope in this campaign. People who feel like they're just hanging on by a thread. Families who believe they're on a treadmill that goes faster and faster. They run further and further, but they never actually move forward, and often they feel they're falling further and further behind. Young Canadians who believe they'll never be able to afford a home. In Riverside South, there was a young man who called me and told me the story that his mother had the exact same job at the exact same office that he has. The difference is that she was able to buy a house in Ottawa when she was 28 years old. And now this gentleman is coming on to his 30s and he has no hope, so he's still living with his mom. He couldn't even imagine buying the same home that she was able to buy doing the same job. And we have countless people who feel no longer safe in their streets. They go to bed worried their car might not be there when they wake up in the morning. They worry about their kids. They've cut back on their diets. They're living paycheck to paycheck. The small business people that have no idea how they're going to make payroll in a few weeks because their tax bill, their gas bill, their heat bill keeps on rising. And the windows got smashed the other day. These are the stories that people tell us every day. But you know something? I have hope, because we can turn this around. We have in our grasp, at our fingertips, the ability to choose change and chart a new and better course for our country. And that is the choice. After the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime, we can't afford a fourth Liberal term. We need a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, unleash our resources, and bring home the Canadian promise. C'est ça le choix.
That was just a little bit of Pierre Poilievre's rally last night in Ottawa. Now let's get to Prime Minister Mark Carney, who had a fairly quiet day yesterday. He canceled one of his rallies in Alberta. Not exactly sure why he would do that. They blamed it on the tragedy in Vancouver where a driver went accelerating through a market and killed at least 11 people. It's a horribly tragic story. I don't know if the right answer is to cancel the day before the election or to carry on like Pierre Poilievre did. In any case, the Prime Minister did not do much campaigning yesterday. However, he did do some. And let's be fair, here is Prime Minister Mark Carney's closing argument.
And this is much of what this election is about. It is coming together. Are we going to come together as Edmontonians, as Albertans, as Canadians, unite in a common purpose? And you have that opportunity to determine it. You truly do. Uniting in a common purpose to win this trade war that President Trump has launched against us and to build an economy strong. Now, it is true that President Trump has betrayed Canada. He's betrayed Canada. And he has ruptured the global economy. Our old relationship with the United States is over, unfortunately. And America's leadership of the global economy is over. And this is a tragedy. This is still in play, but it is a tragedy. It is also our new reality. We have to recognize it. And in order to respond to this huge change in circumstance, we need a strong, positive government. We need a strong, positive government. Because as the President has made clear again in recent days, America is trying to break us so that they can own us. We didn't ask for this fight. We did not ask for this fight. But, hey, that's right. I grew up in Edmonton. I'm telling you, man, if you were playing the CAC, you were playing the Knights of Columbus, when someone else drops the gloves, Canadians are always ready when someone drops the gloves. And we will. In this trade war, just like in hockey, we will win. We will.
That is Prime Minister Mark Carney in Edmonton yesterday. It was the Calgary rally that they canceled. I'm not going to call out the Prime Minister on any of that. I will point out that he still thinks this election is 100% about Donald Trump. He is running a campaign that he feels he can win if he just makes Donald Trump the bad guy. Now, one thing I will point out, because the mainstream media has failed dramatically in this election to hold the Prime Minister to account. We still don't know about his offshore investments. We still don't know about his conflicts of interest. There's still a lot of things that Mark Carney has not disclosed to the voters. And frankly, it's totally fair game, in my estimation, to wonder why. Why does he insist he needs to be Prime Minister before he tells us all about what's going on at Brookfield Asset Management, his company that he worked with? Is he still affiliated with them? Why do we still not know anything about this guy? Even his own wife, when she introduces him, points out Canada hasn't really known Mark for very long. And that's true. We don't really know Mark Carney. And it's unfortunate that the media gave up so easily. So many different scandals throughout this campaign that all got swept under the rug. The most recent one that broke on Thursday. We now know that Donald Trump did challenge Canada's sovereignty to Mark Carney, and he misrepresented that call. We still don't know about his investments. We still don't know about where he's paying taxes. We still don't know where he lives. If you're a voter in Nepean, is where Mark Carney is running, are you really okay with this? Would you seriously elect somebody who does not live in the riding, never will live in the riding, whether he wins or loses? If he wins, he's going to live in the Prime Minister's residence. If he loses, he's gone. There's no connection to Nepean whatsoever. And I'm wondering, is that okay with you if you live in Nepean? It's a great place to visit. I've been there a number of times for various lacrosse tournaments and things like that. Some great people in Nepean, and they're proud of their community. I just can't imagine why Ottawa dangles a prime minister from your riding in front of you and you're all over it. I mean, it's really not doing anything for you, in my estimation, because he doesn't care. He doesn't live there, and he's not going to, even if he wins. Is it Barbara Ball, I believe, is the candidate in Nepean, the conservative candidate? Barbara's great, and the polls say it's not a lock, but she's competitive in that race. I'm very curious to see how that one votes tonight. And in the name of fairness, even though all the polls indicate, including our own today, that the NDP is not in this race, let's hear the closing argument from Jagmeet Singh. Now, he was in British Columbia yesterday. He was in Burnaby. That's his riding. And the audio on this is terrible. I swear the NDP has to be trying to tank this campaign because nothing about it has seemed all that impressive. Not even the sound system properly hooked up to the media's inputs. So here's a little bit of hard-to-hear audio from Jagmeet Singh yesterday in Burnaby.
We believe fundamentally that if we talk about human rights, for us, the people of Palestine deserve the right to be in peace, in security, in justice, just as much as the people of Israel. We think they deserve equal justice, equal fairness, and that's not happening now. And so this is why we're going to continue to raise our voice. No matter what the pressure is, you can always count on me to say what's right, to call it what it is. In the debates, I challenged Mark Carney because he wouldn't refer to it as a genocide. If you can't call it what it is, how can you stop it? If you can't name the injustice, how can you stop the injustice? I also want you to know there's other things that I know are very important to the Muslim community. Like all of us, we care about our healthcare system. We think it should be strong. It should be there for our families. And what the Liberals are proposing are a lot of cuts. They're saying $28 billion of cuts. So if you want someone to stand up and fight back against those cuts, that's me as leader, that's New Democrats as a party. If you want us to bring down the price of groceries, we're proposing a price cap. So grocery stores cannot charge more than a reasonable amount for food essentials. These corporate grocery stores have been jacking up the prices on bread, on meat. They've been price gouging, so we need to stand up and fight back. We're the only party calling that out. So if you want someone that's going to stand up and fight for you, I ask for your support. Monday's voting day. I know many brothers have just mentioned that they already voted for me. Thank you for that support. For those who have not voted yet, please, on Monday, my ask is, if you like the work I'm doing, the only way I can continue to do this is if you give me the honor of your vote. Your vote.
That's good there. Jagmeet Singh likely spending his last day as an elected member of parliament. The polls indicate, and I don't have much time for these polls that are out there because I don't think they're all that accurate, but for what it's worth, the polls say Jagmeet is running fourth in his own riding, maybe third, depending on the poll. It doesn't look good. It's entirely possible that after this election, there will be no more Jagmeet Singh in parliament. There may not even be an NDP in parliament. I mean, they're so low in the polls, they may not even have official party status. Same thing goes with the Green Party. Elizabeth May is likely going to lose her seat tonight. I'm good with it. I'm ready for a reset. We went through hell for the last number of years. There's so much wrong with this country. I'm really glad that we're getting this reset, and I hope it goes well. I want to read a couple of quick listener DMs, and then I'm going to wrap it up for today. This one in from Brock. Hey, Scott, I hope you're ready for a busy day tomorrow. I have a question for the Monday podcast. I've lost all faith in the mainstream media, more than ever this election. However, I intend to watch live coverage all night tomorrow. Which of the corrupt mainstream media stations would you recommend watching? Cheers. And I got a similar one here from Shayla. Scott, can you tell me the best place to watch the election results today as they come in? Not super thrilled to give the CBC my viewership. Thank you, Shayla. I am probably going to watch the CBC, to be honest with you. Tonight, I probably will. But the good news is you shouldn't really have to put up with too much of their spin. Hopefully, they're going to be the journalists that they claim to be, and they're going to do things impartially. I hope. The reason for that is the votes are already in. There's nothing to be partisan about. The CBC doesn't need to try and influence your vote anymore because the votes will already be counted. And there's a lot at stake tonight for the CBC. I kind of want to see the look on Rosemary Barton's face if Pierre Poilievre wins, when she comes to the realization that everything over the last month on the CBC didn't work, they still lost, and now they're about to get defunded. It's going to be great. This DM in from Rob. Scott, it's Elections Day. Election day. Fingers crossed that Canadians don't lack the critical thinking that far too many polls suggest they do. That said, my parents came to visit this weekend. My father and I were discussing the CRTC and wondering what happened to the CRTC. Is it not their responsibility to monitor false and misleading news stories from Canadian broadcasters? They seem to have turned a complete blind eye to the blatant lies from the CBC, CTV, and the rest of them. If the PC party wins today, not only should CBC be defunded, there should be a full investigation done by the CRTC. Hoping for a change? Bring it home, Pierre. That is from Rob. Rob, thank you. I, too, have been wondering how the CBC has been allowed to skate through this. I think most people who have watched some CBC coverage throughout this election have seen some questionable stuff there and thought, this is way too partisan. You know, that at issue panel where they bring in three well-respected journalists who do nothing but pat each other on the back and agree with each other, it creates a false narrative. It creates the illusion that everybody agrees. Pierre bad, Carney good. A lot of things that have happened on the CBC have been wildly inappropriate, and especially inappropriate because the CBC is an actual election issue. There's those commercials running all over the place about defunding the CBC, protecting the CBC, fund the CBC, F the CBC. You've probably seen them or heard them on the radio. CBC should have gone over the top to remain neutral and just presented the news during this campaign. But in my estimation, they didn't. Now, you asked Rob about the CRTC. Yeah, the CRTC does play a role in that. That falls under Heritage Canada. But not just the CRTC. I think the Canadian Broadcast Standards Council and Elections Canada should all be participating. CRTC, Canadian Broadcast Standards Council, Elections Canada. I wholeheartedly agree that we need a full inquiry after this election, because I don't think we should ever have to go through an election again where this many people are blatantly in the streets saying, stop watching the news, don't trust the mainstream media, they're spinning you. That requires public hearings. It has to. And what should come out of those public hearings? Well, the CRTC is not going to say, you guys were bad, so we're going to pull you off the air and revoke your license. That'll never happen with the CBC. But what could come out of that is a common sense, standard set of rules that all media must abide by during an election period. And here's how that would work. After we watch some CBC tape and we watch some CTV tape and some global tape, and the committee can see, ooh, yikes, that really wasn't portrayed in a very neutral way. Come up with some recommendations. And in order for any media, mainstream media, digital media, what have you, if they want to be accredited media during a campaign, they must agree to the code of conduct, voluntarily agree, and that's the only way you can get access to the debates and ask leaders the questions you want to ask and things like that. There was a big debate about who is and isn't media after the debate when Rebel News questioned Prime Minister Mark Carney. Well, since we have such a hard time figuring it out, why don't we just determine that whoever agrees to follow the rules is accredited media? I think that would be fine. And one of the things that would have to be in there is an obligation to present fairly both sides of the story. And if the story is not told fairly, that could lead to repercussions. I think it's the only way. Now, I can refine this idea a little bit. Most of this is off the top of my head. And to be honest with you, I would love to be part of that process, creating common sense rules for election periods for media. I'd love to participate in that. I think we could do some great work. It's just we need the will to have that inquiry. And it's got to start at the CRTC, in my estimation, or Elections Canada. And I think the Canadian Broadcast Standards Council should be involved in that too. By the way, if you see questionable stuff, you're absolutely welcome to write to the CBSC. They're a nonprofit organization that oversees all broadcasters. Next DM is from Jenny. Hi, Scott. In light of your experience at the Pierre Poilievre rally, I went today to the Oakville rally on a whim. It was truly an amazing experience, and I definitely got a lot more than I'd hoped for. Pierre was very approachable, and the MPs from all the surrounding ridings came out to support him. I felt hopeful afterwards. A lot of people came out. They were of all ages and all races. None of that elbows up BS, nor anyone doing anything crazy. It was peaceful and respectful. It was truly inspirational. And look, I got a picture with Pierre. That's a great picture, Jenny. I'm glad you went to a rally. There's so many more people participating in democracy this time, and I think that is nothing but great news. Here's a DM from Derek. Scott, as much as I'm not a fan of Poilievre, I can't understand backing a party that's got all the same cabinet, essentially, that put us in the hole we're in. It's crazy. Conservatives need to win this one. Scary if they don't. Thank you very much for that, Derek. And the last one here to clear out my inbox and get ready for tonight is from Michelle. Scott, just listen to the Shit My Dad Taught Me podcast that you were on. That was a great pod. Nice to hear about Anthony in your life. I knew Anna was going to be great on your pod and on your radio show. I also knew she was going to ask for a hug. How many are in the bank now? Michelle, that bank of hugs that I owe Anna is growing daily. She is a hugger and I am not. But thank you for listening to the, I'll say stuff, My Dad Taught Me podcast. That's some real great guys out of Burlington that run that podcast. And they asked me to be on it. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I might as well go all in. You've probably heard me talk about my kids before. I have two kids that are recent university grads. One's living and working in the States. The other is living and working out on the West Coast. So proud of them. I am just the most proud dad that I could imagine. They have made me look good by being so successful on their own, and I'm proud of them beyond belief. But I don't usually talk about my stepson, my girlfriend's son. And I don't usually do that because, same as when my kids were in high school, I don't really talk about them on the radio until they're old enough to understand what that means, until they're old enough to understand that dad's a celebrity in a way. I don't want to toot my own horn here. I'm not a celebrity, but there are people who recognize me. Sometimes people want to confront me. Sometimes people want a picture, and that's fine. That's something that takes a little getting used to. And I never wanted to open that world up to my kids before they were ready for it. Well, my stepson, Anthony, is now getting a little bit older. He's driving age now, and I'm real proud of him, too. Now that he is getting a little bit older, I did talk about him for the first time on that podcast episode. If you want to see it, it is linked up on my social media. You can find me at Scott Fox On Air on all of the major platforms. Instagram, I think, is the best place to see the preview clips. And then if you want, you can follow the link and watch the whole episode. So if you want to know a little bit more about me and what goes on at my place, yes, there is a third kid. And I'm super proud of him, too. I just haven't really talked about him until I did that Stuff My Dad Taught Me podcast. So feel free to go and check that out. It's called Shit My Dad Taught Me. There's an episode that I was on. It's about an hour long. It's audio and video, so you'll see me in this one, and you can hear a little bit more about my life and my transition from radio to podcast. I recorded that before I got the job at Light 92, by the way, so there's no final conclusion to draw it all together, but there's some good info in there. Friends, have yourselves a great day. Good luck to Canada today. We have a lot to get right here, and God, do I ever hope we get it right. I told you I would leave you with a prediction, and I'm going to do that. I understand what the polls are saying, and I know why the polls are the way they are. I understand that. The NDP completely collapsed in this one, and that has sent some voters on the left to the Liberals. Not all of them. There's still people on the left who swore they will never, ever vote Liberal again, and some of them have actually made the jump from NDP to Conservative. So I don't think all of the old NDP voters are going to the Liberals, but I do understand why the pollsters think they're on solid ground when they say 43% Liberal, 39% Conservative. I think that in the end, when all the votes are counted, I think once young people actually get out and vote today, I think when they add up the advanced polls, I'm going to predict about 180 seats for the Conservatives, a conservative majority government. I am predicting that after tonight, Pierre Poilievre will be the Prime Minister-elect for Canada. Conservative, narrow majority. There's a possibility it could be a conservative minority. There's a possibility it could be a liberal minority or a liberal majority. A lot could happen, but if you take away those mainstream media narratives, if you take away these mainstream media polls, and you just look at what's going on the ground, when you look at the engagement from young people and on social media and so on and so forth, I just can't reconcile that with what the polls say. I think they're missing something. That's my prediction. Conservative, narrow majority. My second most likely scenario is conservative, strong minority. I do not think the Liberals are going to win this election tonight, and I do not think Mark Carney is going to stay around. I do not expect that he is going to sit there in the opposition benches. I think he is out. And the Liberals, the NDP, and the Greens are all going to be holding leadership conventions over the next few months. Friends, have a great day. Please, God, get out and vote. And I hope you can join me right back here tomorrow for another Scott Fox After 9.